I'm Eric Mitchell, and this is To The Point. Happy Thursday. We are here. This is To The Point Sportsbook Thursday. So what are we talking about? Sports. What are we talking about? We're going to do a recap of Week 2. Everything that you probably watched or missed or haven't paid attention to. Injuries and what it means to your fantasy team heading into Week 3. We're going to talk about tonight's matchup on the NFL Network. We're excited to talk about that and what's going to go on into Week 3. We saw some amazing things happen on the football field and so many injuries. Week 2, I felt like some teams needed to roll an infirmary up and so many players got sent home. We had ejections again in Week 2. This continue to happen. These helmet-to-helmet contacts are bananas. And we have an amazing guest panel today to break down Week 2 and talk about Week 3. We're going to jump into a little bit of the NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about Major League Soccer. And, of course, we're going to talk about Tom Brady because both of our guests are Tampa folks. They love their Tampa Bay football, so they'll be talking about the Bucks. We're going to cover a little bit of everything, and we'll even get some insight, like I hinted to some Major League Soccer, because that's right. We have from the Portland Timbers in Major League Soccer, the wonderful Jeff Attinella is joining us, amazing goalie. And we also have my good friend, professional keynote speaker, Phil Gerbyshak will be joining us also, joining this amazing panel this week to talk about everything Week 2 and Week 3 and sports in general. So it's going to be an amazing show because we love our sports around here. And it has been an amazing week in football. We've seen so much go on. But here's my gripe, folks. You know, we started the week and these coaches are being fined. Now, the NFL has made almost $4 million in fines for coaches not wearing masks. So they fined the coaches individually $100,000. So 3 teams were fined on Monday and 2 additional teams were fined on Tuesday. The Saints and the Raiders, the latest ones who played on Monday Night Football, both Sean Payton and John Gruden, their masks were up and down. They were both fined $100,000 plus each additional organization fined $250,000. Start doing the math. That's $1.7 million. Do it to the 3 teams that were fined before. You have Vic Fangio. You had Pete Carroll and the San Francisco 49ers all fined $100,000 and $250,000 fines. So is the NFL making up for not having fans in the stadium by fining their coaches? Because if you look at the rules in the rule book when it comes to wearing your mask, players are optional. It's not required. Now, coaches have to wear a mask. That's why you see Andy Reid with his gigantic face shield and why they talked about it at length on Sunday's game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. You heard all about it, right? How he had anti-fogger on there and yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't make sense that the NFL would choose to fine these coaches for not wearing. You know how hard it is? These masks, number one, they're proven to help others, but these guys are all tested together. And in fact, once again, Week 2 had 0 positive test results. So it asked me the question. So I ask you, sports fans, what do you think of these fines? Is this the NFL making up for lost time and money? Or is this outrageous? Or do you like, heck yeah, I totally agree? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. Send us a tweet out. Tweet us at To The Point TV and say, I agree with the fines. I disagree with the fines. Or, dude, what are you whining about? I don't want the people who are going to post, well, I don't watch football. I'm mad. Okay, we don't want you. We don't want your comments. You can keep your anti-sports comments to yourself. We're not here to be anti-sports. We're here to talk about sports. It's a celebration because never before have we ever had a week, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, a week that features the end of the Major League Baseball season heading into the postseason. We've got the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals just going off. I mean, Game 2 of the Lakers versus the Nuggets with an amazing shot by Anthony Davis. I mean, this is what hoops is about. We got the Stanley Cup going. Of course, the Tampa boys, I'm sure, are going to be talking about their Tampa teams. And, of course, we're going to be going on, and we have so many sports. We have Major League Soccer. We're going to have a goalie here today who could probably tell us that they have games going. So if you're not watching Major League Soccer, they have a fan base. They're traveling. They're playing. They're doing quite well. We've got the WNBA playoffs underway. They recently had to postpone a game. And we've got college football. But when we come back after the break, we're going to be talking about all things Week 2 and talk about what's up in Week 3. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it.
Left me missing now. I can't change who I am. You
everybody. I'm Eric Mitchell, and this is To The Point, and you're here for our sports book, right? We launched this a couple weeks ago. We're talking all sports. It's fantasy, so we have to talk about it. And we're going to recap week 2, like we did week 1 last week, which was a crazy week, and also talk about what's coming up in week 3. Now, we have an amazing cast of characters. God, I don't even know if we can call these guys characters. So I guess I'll start. And you can tell they're Bucks, they're Tampa people instantly. You got the Lightning fan, Phil Gerbyshak, who is a sales guru and national keynote speaker. And from the Portland Timbers, Major League Soccer team, for those of you who don't know, I was going to say MLS, but I don't know how many of you watch soccer. If you do, the Portland Timbers, very well known. Check them out. Jeff Attinella is their goalie, so you can check out the Portland Timbers and all that good stuff. But as you can tell, rocking the TB12 jersey, we're here to talk Tampa Bay football, I'm sure. So we'll be hearing all about Tom Brady. So, gents, week 2. For those of you who are in fantasy, how did your fantasy teams do? Let's start with that. How was the week with fantasy?
Well, mine was good. So I had 3 winners and 2 losers.
Oh.
So pretty happy about that. So pretty good. I had TB12 in 2 of my leagues. He put up less than 10 points, but still I won. So I'm pretty happy about that. I don't know, Jeff, what about you, man? How many bucks you got on your teams, man?
I have Bucks defense. I'm big on the Bucks defense. I thought they were a good sleeper pick. I picked up their kicker, Ryan Suckup. I picked him up because I thought they'd be scoring a lot of points. But one of my teams got hit with the injury bug, and the other one's doing all right. So I went 1-1 for the week. So all things considered, it wasn't too bad.
I went 2-0 this week, and my biggest league that I've been in for over a decade, I got my first win for the season after getting my teeth kicked in last week. Just because it was ugly last week. I went, and then he got crushed this week. He got bit with the injury bug. But I had an interesting one, so I'll talk about mine. So I had Russ Wilson is on my team. He's my QB1. I got Mike Evans, who was great. But I went up against Metcalf and Cam Newton. So Metcalf, of course, was catching some of those bombs that Russ was dropping. And, of course, Cam Newton was amazing in that Sunday night game. That dude was just running the show. I think Cam fits very well in Tom Brady's former position. I think Belichick likes having a toy that runs a little bit faster than Thomas. But we won't knock Thomas. He is a GOAT, and I'm not here to bash on Brady. But let's start with week 2. We started off with the Bengals versus the Browns, a Thursday night game. That one was 35-30, but it was a good game. We got to see Burrows play, who I'm impressed with as a rookie. Really look, I mean, it's hard. You come into the league. I mean, Jeff, you're a professional athlete, so you know what it's like being a rookie coming in and starting. I don't think it changes from any sport. It's a lot of butterflies underneath your stomach that you have to deal with coming in and pressure. You're on TV. Plus, he's a Heisman winner, and of course, Baker Mayfield. You either love Baker or you hate Baker. I'm a big Baker fan. I love him just because I like his commercials, and he's on my fantasy team. He's my QB2, so I don't hate on the kid, so we'll say good things about Baker on the show. Bake, we love you. But I mean, do you guys have any Bengals or Browns on your team? Not that people are drafting either one of those teams heavily, but.
Oh, come on now. Tyler Boyd, right? So I've got him on my teams. I put him in because of my injuries. I had 2 guys out, right? I had Godwin was out, and so was Galladay.
That's true.
So I was really happy that I had Ty Boyd. He played really well. He did a good job. And then at the same time, my flex guy this week was Kareem Hunt. And even though Nick Chubb put up big numbers, Hunt still gave me 20 points. So I was really happy with both those picks. To your point about Baker, I have him in a dynasty league. And I'll tell you, he is not playing as well as he could. So I'd love to see Baker put it up some more. But frankly, way better than Drew Lock, who sprained his AC joint by getting dumped on it. So, happy about that. I don't know.
That's kind of an interesting point. Jeff, you started with it talking about the injury bug. You're right. Like, before we started, what was the number you said, Phil? How many people were?
21 major injuries that are going to affect our fantasy teams. 21, right? Either on a defense or kicker. Thankfully, though, Martin Gramatica is no longer kicking, so he can't hurt himself jumping after kicking a field goal, right? I mean, come on. Sorry, Bucks fans, right? But Jeff, right? Gramatica injures himself celebrating kicking a 12-yard field goal. Come on.
Oh.
I've actually played soccer with the Grammatica brothers, and they're good guys. So I'm not going to bash them on this. I'm not going to bash them. Sometimes if you make a kick, sometimes you got to celebrate, and anything can happen.
Yeah,
But back to Joe Burrows. I
Yeah.
have him in my dynasty league. I picked him up as a $1, buy him and stash him for years later. I like him, man. He's got some serious swag. Hopefully he can lift that Bengals franchise a little bit. But, he had some quotes after the game where he's talking about how much he hates losing, and it's something he's not planning on getting used to. So I think when you play the way that he's been able to play and he can back it up, you like to see those types of things, and hopefully he can kind of turn that franchise around.
Absolutely. So the next game that a lot of people were watching, I know one of the teams is playing tonight's game because it's Thursday. So we have the Jaguars played the Tennessee Titans, which was a great game. I mean, I'm a big Henry fan. I like that Tennessee team. Neither injury bugs were there. And, of course, you just got to love the Jaguars with their trailer park QB. That guy just plays the part.
Uncle Rico!
I love Uncle Rico. I mean, he's fun to watch, and he's good. I mean, that was a shootout, too, 30-33. I mean, it was a good game. I actually don't have anybody on either team this year. Last year, that was a whole different. If you're watching Commissioner for my first league, Alex, you messed up our keeper league. So, yeah, I lost my running back. But anyways, I made up for it. I picked up Mike Evans. So I'm happy I have Mike Evans. But so we had that game. I liked it. I think the Jaguars are no joke. I think they just play in a very tough conference. It's an incredible team. And the Titans, well, they started to figure out how to kick field goals again. And I won't make fun of that because we do have a goalie on the show who probably knows more about kicking anything than I do. And I'm not knocking anybody I can't kick it 10 yards through a field goal. So 43 with wind in game-like conditions. I don't talk smack on field goal kickers. I just couldn't believe that week one he missed so many. But he won the game winner, so I guess that's all matters, right, Jeff? At the end of the day, is making the one that wins.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I felt like this week one of the storylines was the kicking. You saw big guys making big field goals. I think it was in the Kansas City game where that kicker had to make the same field goal three or four times in a row. The Monday night game with the Raiders when the game's on the line and he puts his kicker out there, and Gostowski is a Hall of Famer. So for him to have that type of night and to bounce back the way that he did, and one of the things that's been, for me at least, that's been fun about these first 2 weeks is I don't know if there's no crowd. I don't know if it's because the defenses aren't on the same page or what, but there have been some high scoring games, and
right,
especially in NFL, that's fun football to watch.
It is true. I mean, and then we'll move to the next game, which you two were both very friendly with. The Buccaneers coming in. Well, you guys welcomed to your house the Panthers minus Cam Newton and the Bucs in their second game with TB and Gronk and that cast of amazing talent. And you guys didn't disappoint. You came out of the gate. Brady looked good. I mean, he's still learning an offense. It's not something overnight. I know everybody is like, after week one, because Brady didn't have a Brady game, it's a whole new system. It doesn't matter. They didn't have a preseason. Their OTAs. He looked great again this week. I mean, he looks like Brady. I'm never going to dog the guy. I don't care how many picks. Guy goes out, lights it up, hits Mike Evans, who's on my team. I get good points off of that. He looks good. But my question for you, Tampa fans, Gronk. We all kind of count on Gronk, but last week he hit O.J. Howard a lot. O.J. had, I believe, 5 grabs and a TD. This week, less grabs. Doesn't look for his tight ends. I mean, he does have Fournette, who's got wheels, which I'm still shocked the Jags let that guy go. Of course, Mike Evans. But Gronk's not even seeing any action. I mean, Gronk's not even getting looked at. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully they're saving Gronk. Hopefully Gronk has a Gronk game. We need to see a Gronk spike. It just needs to happen.
Yeah, I think so, right? I think they're saving him for the playoffs, to be honest with you. I mean, he's blocking. No, for real.
Tampa's already playoff bound in game. I didn't know. I thought is that a Raider jersey underneath their shirt? I mean, I only thought Raider fans were celebrating.
No, come on now. No, but so I'm just saying, man, I think we're saving him for later in the season when we need him. No sense rolling out the whole playbook. Gronkowski's a great player. He's, to your point, he's totally learning the offense. And after being a professional wrestler for a year, he's got to get back in football shape. The guy lost 40 pounds.
He did.
No, come on, man. He lost 40 pounds.
He working out with his mom.
Look like Rob Gronkowski. So that's what I think. I think they need that. And to that point, I think by week 5, he's going to start lighting up this scoreboard with some Gronkowski stuff. But so far, he's not in football shape yet. He's sat out a year and a half, and he hurt his elbow. He's skinnier. He's not in shape. I think he's coming back. And really, they are saving for later in the year, whether it's playoffs or not, later in the year.
Jeff, what do you say to that, Mr. Tampa?
I mean, it'll definitely be playoffs. But so for me, I think that, you're looking at this Bucks team, and week one, the storyline was the amount of hits that Brady was taking, right? He was under a lot of pressure. The tight ends were getting a lot of targets. OJ Howard had a big day. They looked at Gronk a little bit more. And, if you watch this week, they brought their tight ends in to help with the blocking.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that, that's probably not something that Gronk is used to. But at the same time, Gronk and Brady probably aren't used to, outside of the Randy Moss team, being on a team where they have the type of wide receivers that they have. So if you got to bring your superstar tight ends in and have them help out the O-line so that Brady has a little bit more time while they're figuring out the offense, you got to do what you got to do to get wins in the NFL, which isn't always an easy thing. So hopefully the playbook gets opened up, because I think OJ Howard and Gronk, they're both great at catching passes out of the tight end spot. But if your franchise quarterback, who's, I think he's 43, is getting hit all the time, he's not going to last. He's not going to be able to last the way that Jameis did. So use your tight ends to block right now. Try to get your offense figured out since you haven't had that time, and see what happens. Start gripping it and ripping it to these all-pro wide receivers you got.
I love it. When we come back from the break, we're going to catch up, talk more about break. We were talking week 2, but before we continue on our feedback in week 2 and preview of week 3, I want to talk about Tampa sports, because like it or not, whether you're a Yankee fan, a Red Sox fan, any fan, you got to face it. Tampa is that city this year that is really on the map. Whether baseball team is getting ready, Jeff, I think you said they're getting ready to clinch the division, which, oh, wait a minute, my camera just went black. That's kind of funny. Anyways, we'll stop here for a second. So the sports in Tampa, you guys are there. You've got baseball. You're running that. You're going to go to the playoffs, so you already know that. You're going to probably own the crown and take that pennant. Football, hey, you got Tom Brady. Nobody can hate on that. And your team's in the Stanley Cup, which is huge for Tampa. But you guys are already kind of a hockey city. I mean, let's face it. Everybody thinks the Stanley Cup runs through Tampa, which is weird to say that it goes through any kind of Florida for that. But we'll do it. So what do you guys think about that? You guys are my Tampa guys. You guys own the floor here. Whoever wants to go first, tell me what your thoughts are. Jeff, I'll pick you first because you are you talk about the Rays all the time. Of course, TB, you've been excited. You were on our show talking about him when we first launched. But what's your thoughts on this baseball and hockey going on right now? It's too early with football. I know you're going to go to the playoffs, but too early to say much. But you guys are owning it in the other sports.
Yeah, I think with hockey, I was actually on a Lightning Talk show the other day. And this is a year that they have to win it. There's a lot of salary cap issues. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was 6 out of the last 8 years or something like that. And we haven't won it. We haven't won it since 2004. We've had the players in place to win it for, I was talking dynasty with a lot of my friends, the way that this roster was built. And they've had a history of just coming up short lately. So even though it's in a bubble, even though it's 2020, all weird things are going on, this is the year they have to win it. This is the year that they're going to be together, and you're not going to know what happens after this. So hopefully, I predicted the Bolts in 7. It's going to be a good series. I think the Stars look really good too. But I think for all Tampa fans, we're dying to get that Stanley Cup. And for me, baseball is the ultimate. I think if you win a World Series, then especially if you're the Rays, who have the low budget in the toughest division in baseball, and they look good. I wish it was a full season because I thought that they had a team that could win it in a full season. But they have the pitchers, they have the hitters this year, and their bullpen is lights out. So I'm hopeful. I hope they can get it done in the playoffs versus the big dogs once you get in those 2 or 3, those series that are 3 or 5 games, and we'll see what happens. But I'm optimistic. I hope they get the Stanley Cup, and if there's a World Series and a Super Bowl on top of it, who am I to complain?
Phil, what's your thoughts, my friend?
Well, yeah, I'm bullish on them too, right? I think the Lightning, it's about time that they show up and play well. I mean, last year was embarrassing, right? Best team in the league. Get beat in the first round. Really, really embarrassing. So it's great to see them back. It's great to see Vasilevsky and the team playing really, really well. Really enjoying that. And then the Rays, right? They're built for 60 games. Let's be honest, right? They don't have to worry about tiring out their bullpen. They don't have to worry about, Kiermaier getting hurt, bumping into the wall or something stupid like that, right? So it's great to see the Rays doing so well. I wish, like Jeff said, I wish it were a longer season to see this, but who cares? I mean, the World Series is the World Series, right? If we can do it, we win, man. Now, the question I've got, though, is do they stay in Tampa? Are they going to go to Montreal? Are they going to do something else? Are we going to build them a stadium? I mean, they say that people in Tampa don't go to St. Pete. People in St. Pete come to Tampa, and yet they have a stadium in St. Pete. So I don't know. We'll see it. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But this year, super bullish. Go Rays, go Bolts, and yes, go Bucks. LFG, baby.
I love this. I got guys. I'm like, oh god, the Tampa guys. They're all going off, and I don't have any horses in this one. I'm the Yankee fan going, yeah. Well, the injury bug bit us, but it bites us full season, short season. Stanton and Judge can't play more than 5 games apiece without somebody pulling a calf muscle. I'm like, I know you guys have money for a trainer, so I don't know what's going on here. It's frustrating as a Yankee fan going, what the heck is this? Are we in minor league baseball? Short season? We can't afford a trainer? I mean, come on, Yankees. We got to do better. I mean, we got talent.
If I could cut in for 1 second, just because it's very hard for Tampa fans to ever get a word in with Yankee fans. The Tampa rotation had about 10 injuries, had about 10 guys, 6 guys that needed Tommy John this year, and they're still not they're still not wavering at all. So I hear the injury bug excuse a lot from the Yankees, but you're not hearing it from us Rays fans.
No. You know what? You can own me on this. I'll own it this year. We look like turd. I mean, we went on that 10-game win streak. We got blown out by the Sox on Sunday. We got our teeth kicked in last night by the Jays. I mean, and face it, this division is hard. Let's face it, the Sox and the Yankees have owned it. It's good to see at least one other team step into the mix. It's good, and Tampa's been close. You guys know that. You guys have been close in baseball. I love baseball. It's one of my favorite sports besides football. Hockey, well, I live here in Portland, so hockey isn't something we get to see a lot. So, I mean, we have the Winter Hawks. And as for baseball, Phil, I know a team in the Pacific Northwest that's looking for a baseball team. I just happen to know that they have a whole mission on it.
Seattle?
Seattle no, that would be Portland.
Oh, yeah, you count the Mariners as a pro team still. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not a Mariners fan, so you can insult them.
I know you're not.
I'm like, bye,
I'd love
whatever.
to see Griffey Jr. own them.
Hey, they have a beautiful stadium when they can have fans in it.
They do. My brother lives there, okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, be nice, And the professional athletes over here, like, you both could shut up. I play without sports, okay? I don't have fans in a stadium. That's a whole nother interview, Jeff. We can ask you what that's like. That has to be weird, like standing in a goal with no fans. I mean, come on. Is that a little weird? Come on.
Yeah, it's one of those things they're talking about how you got to bring your own juice. That's what all the athletes are saying, and it's just the truth. You got to – usually the crowd noise is something that gets you going, but this year you got to bring your own juice.
Especially in Portland. I mean, the Portland Timbers are known for their – I mean, that's sports-wide. Everybody knows how the Timbers Army is, and I don't know how you guys do it. And the crowd noise doesn't do anything for me. It was like watching that Seahawk game. Anybody who watched the Seahawk game, you're like, in the fourth quarter, that place would have been a madhouse that you couldn't even hear the Sunday night team, which would have been fine not to hear Chris Collinsworth. But, we're not that lucky. That guy just gets to continue talking. And they have his kid now. Anyway, so let's move on before we head to our next break. Let's talk about the game that was plagued with injuries. It actually, I think, is going to affect, and I say this because we're talking about goats, and you have a goat jersey on, but come on, the greatest goat.
Oh, yeah, of course, Joe, yeah.
The big goat, the original goat, the one that your goat loves. Yeah. The MJ to your LeBron. Gotta face it. But the Niners decimated playing at MetLife versus the Jets. They destroyed the Jets. Great game. Starts off with that great run by Mozart, who that dude just come on out of anywhere. But they lost Bosa. They lost Solomon Thomas. They lost Mozart and Jimmy G. Now, Jimmy G's rumored to be coming back, but now there's other injuries coming up out of there. We already are down Kittle, already down Richard Sherman. Have you guys ever seen a team that went to the Super Bowl that was even it still was a contender as of week 2? Good, talented team. Have you ever seen a team decimated where they lost all their big guns? Their quarterback, I'm not a Jimmy G fan. I'll put my hand up and say I'm not sold on Jimmy yet. Jimmy doesn't impress me week to week. He killed us in the Super Bowl, not being able to complete a pass to anybody that was wearing a red jersey and was wide open. So what's your guys? Have you guys ever seen anything like that? And did you guys have any Niners? I had Kittle. He was on the bench, obviously, because he was out. Yeah. Did you guys were you guys affected by those injuries?
Kittle was my number 2 pick in the league, right? So, and on the quick turn there, I think he was 12 or 13 on my team are in the league for a draft. So that sucked. But the only team that I've ever seen do anything like this, not at the beginning, but one that stomped there years ago, right? The Giants, when Phil Simms got hurt, they lost some running backs, they lost some defenders. I mean, that's the only team that I've seen really overcome that and make it through. But my goodness, right? This is crazy. 6, 7 starters out. The good news is Mostert should be back in 2 weeks. He just bruised his MCL, they're saying, which is great. I mean, but come on, right? 6 or 7 folks. And then that stadium, you got to wonder, like, what's going on there? And they got to return there this week. That's going to be tough.
Now, before you finish that thought, just know the NFL investigated MetLife Field just yesterday and deemed it safe for play. So the Niners don't get to use it.
Still not buried there? Is that what you're telling me? Come on now, Eric.
When we come back from the break, more on week 2. We're going to talk about your guys' the point. Before we went to break, we were talking about the craziness in sports. And one thing I want to talk about, and I started the show off on this topic, is the fines. We've seen now 5 teams and coaches, head coaches, fined. You have Fangio, Carroll, and Shanahan, and now Sean Payton and Gruden, all fined $100K apiece for not wearing their mask while their players are, it's an optional for NFL players. And the coaches have to wear a mask. Of course, we've all seen Andy Reid with the full visor. And famous for watching it fogged up in week 1 and week 2. He played in San Diego, which that's not an issue. But this seems ridiculous to me. The fines, the teams are also getting fined $250K. Now, mind you, it's money it's nothing to most of these teams. It just seems ridiculous the NFL is charging this like they have nothing better to do. And if you look at it, they're pulling the mask up and down, but they're not in front of anybody. Like the social distancing thing, to me, if you want to follow I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me. I'm not an athlete affected by it. So for this one, I'm going to lead off with the one guy in this whole conversation that has some sort of rules around this. It would be the guy in the middle of this conversation. So, Jeff, would you mind leading the guide on this? You know what the rules are. You have to wear a mask on the sideline. You guys play. You guys were the first team in the bubble and came home, and now you guys are traveling and doing your thing. So what is your thoughts on this? Mask and playing, and is it hard? You have a head coach. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting because especially watching the NFL, one of the funniest things I think about the NFL right now is if you're watching the refs, they'll have their masks on, but once they get all really close to each other, they take their masks off to talk. It's like that's defeating the whole purpose of the mask. Like that's the whole reason you're supposed to wear the mask. But it's the same for us that the coaches are required to wear them all the time. Coaches have to have them on all the time. If you're not on the actual playing field, you're supposed to wear your mask. And I think, especially for NFL, and there was just so much talk about, the virus in sports and, are sports going to be back? Is it safe to be back? I think a lot of it is optics too. If you have a coach on the sideline who doesn't have a mask on, who's, talking to people without a mask on, if people don't fully understand the testing and the amount of testing that we're doing all the time, for us, we're getting tested every other day. I think the NFL is the same. So I think that if you don't understand that these people are being tested almost around the clock, then the optics of it, of a guy not wearing their mask and not following the protocols, I think it looks bad. Like, I think it looks bad for sports, especially since all the talk has been about our sports going to be back, this, that, and the other. So for me, I think it's an optics thing. Who knows where that money is going? Hopefully it's going to some type of good cause. That would make it all worth it. And, I think that if these owners keep catching these fines, you're going to see a lot more coaches pulling those masks really far over their nose.
Oh, yeah. You're good. You saw the head coach of the Rams, who, by the way, beat the Eagles. There's a team that's suffering. The Eagles are, they're the first team that's ever been booed in an empty stadium. They found a way to have that happen at their home game the other day. That was amazing. I didn't know that you could even do that without an audience, but they found a way to do it with no fans. But, Sean McKay, he had his mask up because he was fined. He was warned in week 1. That mask lived above his bridge of his nose. It started sliding down, and he was like, I was like, dude, They're talking about all the way off. But it is funny, Jeff, you bring up a good point with the mask, because you're right. The referees, even when they go make the call, they take it off, all the way off. And they're all together, like, and even talking to the coaches, I watched them. They went up to Andy. You know, Andy Reid has the shield. Ref pulls off his mask and he's talking to him. And I'm like, and then I'm thinking, seeing these fines going, really? Really? These are the guys you're going after? I mean, I get it. I agree with you. Optics, it is important. I mean, we are blessed that this weekend we got the ACC and the SEC in college football starting. The Big 12, Big 10 comes back October 26th, and rumor has it the Pac-12 will be around the same time. They have cleared it with Governor Newsom. They're waiting for Governor Inslee, but Governor Brown here in Oregon has approved the players to go ahead. So it'd be nice to have football back, but we do need to be safe. Player safety, just like you guys on the field, Jeff. You guys take it serious. You guys led the way. I mean, I'll give it to Major League Soccer, and then we'll move on to football again. Well, American football. You got what I meant. Haha, look at that. I did that. But you guys were the first guys in the bubble. You guys led the way. The NBA's done a great job. Major League Baseball's doing the bubble for the postseason. So that'll be interesting. We'll have to have you back on, Jeff, to kind of add. Obviously, you're like, dude, I'm a Major League Soccer player, Major League Baseball. There's the life of bubble life's probably a little different. You're probably like, yeah, dude. I mean, and I saw what your guys' game room looked like on Timber's Instagram. It's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're living, at the end of the day, I think if you're spending weeks to months in a bubble's a bubble. It doesn't really matter what you got going on.
It sucks. I've talked to a couple NBAers. They're like, at the end of the day, it sucks. It's a bubble. You're living in a hotel at the end of the day. It sucks.
Right.
You're not with your family. But anyway, so as we continue on here, we just covered the Rams, which I think the Rams are a great team, that talented team. You know, Aaron Donald is amazing. We talked about the Niners and the Jets. The Bills team came in and got into a shootout with the Dolphins. I thought that game was closer than the score looks a lot closer than the game was. I mean, Josh Allen, amazing QB. The shocker for me out of all the games was the Colts destroying the Vikings. The Vikings could not move the ball down the field where the week before they got in that shootout with the Pack. I was blown away by that because, you know, the Packers kept the shootout theme going. They beat the Lions 42-21, but the Colts came out and beat the Vikings. Now who are 0-2, the Colts came out with old man Phillip Rivers, and they beat them 28-11, so that's kind of shocking. Anybody have Rivers as their QB? Just curious if anybody.
No way, man. Why would
Jeff's
you put
face
Rivers
was the
on your
best.
fantasy
Jeff's
team?
face just won. No, that's like saying, do you have Eli Manning? People are like, no, I wouldn't draft it.
I'd rather have Peyton Manning than Phillip Rivers on my team, man. There's no way.
Anybody going to grab
Rivers
Derek Carr?
Like 78 years old. So that's a better question.
I thought Derek Carr looked.
He looked great last night. I drafted him last year.
Yeah.
That's why I make the joke, because I'm like, of course he goes and has a great game. I'm like, finally, it only took you the season I don't own you. Good job. Let's see, who else do we got here? Well, let's talk about it.
You're leaving out the league MVP. You're leaving out who's going to be the league MVP, Kyler Murray.
Ooh, Murray's amazing. That Cardinals
Kyler
team.
Murray is going to be the MVP,
I mean,
not Tecmo Mahomes. Come on, Jeff. Really?
Oh man, you got to follow DeAndre Hopkins on Twitter. He's starting the Murray campaign for MVP. I think he leads the league in rushing and he leads the league in passing or something like that.
He does.
Oh, I mean, it's not the Heisman, man.
No their first game of the year was versus the Niners defense, and that was a good game. And it's hard to say. It's like bragging that the Niners beat the Jets. Going in and beating the team from Washington, the Washington football team. Washington fans were very excited in week one when they had a victory. And then the reality hit when they lost 30-15 this past week. You also had that Chiefs-Chargers game. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes. They struggled a little bit to get up and down the field. I don't know what was going on. I know they played at home the first week with a crowd. Then they went on the road without a crowd in that brand new stadium, which is just weird to have a brand new stadium and nobody in it. So you had that. Of course, the Ravens, they're 2-0. They just stomped on the Texans, 33-16. Amazing plays from scrimmage there. And of course, the Sunday night game that we're all still talking about, that Patriots-Seahawks game. Amazing game. Two great players. Cam Newton looks terrific. I mean, and that goal line stop, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with play calls.
The ghost of Malcolm Butler, I think, made that stop. That was pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
And then finally we had
why
the
Seahawks
Raiders and the Saints. So that was a good week. So let's jump ahead. We only got a little bit of time left here, so I want to cover Thursday night game. Tonight's game is the Jaguars versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 0-2. The Jags are 1-1. I mean, both teams have been in their games. They haven't been blown out. I know week one for the Dolphins was against Cam Newton and the Patriots. And, you also have that Steeler team. So the Denver Broncos. Now, Jeff, you are coming back from a shoulder injury. So I know the Broncos are talking, their quarterback suffered, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it's different injuries, but shoulders are shoulders. So the recovery time on that's not something fast, especially when it's your throwing shoulder, right? I mean, healing from anything in your shoulder.
For me, I had a pretty big surgery that took me a while. I think that I thought I saw he sprained his AC joint, which I think is something that's similar that Cam had.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if it ranges in severity, but they were saying 2 to 6 weeks. But as a Florida boy, the big news is they signed Blake Bortles this week, so maybe it'll be the return of Blake Bortles out in Denver. And in the meantime, though, the Bucs are catching the Broncos at a good time. So
absolutely.
you don't want to see injuries, and I think Drew Lock has a bright future, but at the same time, it's a good time for Tom Brady to be heading over to Denver.
Right.
Well, let's not forget Cortland Sutton is out too, right? Cortland Sutton broke. He's got a ripped ACL.
Yeah, he's done.
So
and Von Miller. And Von Miller.
And
they've had a tough.
Philip Lindsay's out for 2 more weeks. So Denver's got nothing. I mean, to your point, Jeff, you said Tampa's defense, 30 points this week.
Yep.
Jeff Driscoll, not the answer at quarterback. Let's be really clear. So, this could be a 30-point week
lost.
for our Bucs.
He did not look like Nick Mullins for the 49ers who came in the game ready. So, yeah.
Right. He looked like John Travolta in that meme. He's looking around, right? Like, where am I going? Where am I going?
Oh,
come on now.
But we got some good games. I mean, here before we go to commercial before we come back and close up the show, just to run it down, we got the Bengals, Eagles, Texans, Steelers. That'll be a good game. The Steelers, I think, could go up 3-0 on this. The Texans just haven't come out of the gate looking good. The Niners go back to MetLife, and hopefully we don't send anybody else to the infirmary. I think we've left enough people and sent them back to the West Coast. We're good now. The Raiders face the Patriots, and that'll be always a fun rematch. Those teams do not like each other. Titans face the Vikings. You guys, of course, go and face your good friends in Mile High, where Tom doesn't have to face Peyton Manning, so I'm sure he'll be excited not to have Peyton across from him. But he always has great games when Peyton's there, so hopefully they don't even bring Peyton to the stadium, because that would be bad for the Broncos, because all of a sudden there's just going to be fires lit. The Rams played the Bills. Those two teams are 2-0. A lot of interest in that game because the Rams look really good, and that Bills team looks really good. Their running back, I mean, they're set. Josh Allen, that kid has no problem putting that ball on the field and going. I mean, he's got that Russ Wilson. So we come back from break. We're going to wrap up everybody's final thoughts and get our Week 3 picks going. So stay tuned. We are back for the last segment here. Everybody get their kind of what they see happening this week. Last of the teams that we need to run through. The Bears play the Falcons. Falcons are 0-2. And apparently, hopefully they win over how to recover onside kicks. They apparently did not get the memo that they can go get the ball. They don't need it to roll 10 yards. They apparently didn't look at that rule book, which I'm shocked still that they didn't go get that ball. You're on the good hands team. Go get the ball. Fall on it. That's like Pop Warner stuff. Anyways, Panthers play the Chargers. Chargers are 1-1. The Jets play the Colts. That sounds like a real boring game. Cowboys play the Seahawks. Seahawks look amazing. I'm not a Seahawks fan. I'm a Niner fan. I'm afraid of that team. They are very strong. I know they've been bit by the injury bug, but they look good. You guys, of course, we covered the Bucs travel to Denver. The Lions go face the Cardinals, and there you go, Jeff. Further MVP proof there. Mr. Murray gets to go play with that Lions team. And the Saints head and play Green Bay. And our Monday night game, on my birthday, by the way, is the Chiefs and the Ravens. It's like the NFL knew I needed a good game on my birthday. So that's who we have. So who do you guys see this weekend being the big star? After injury week 2, what do you think is the big play this week in the NFL for week 3? We'll go with you, Phil.
Jeff, go ahead. I'll let you run.
You guys, now you guys are going to fight over who talks first.
I'll let you take it first. I'll let you take it first.
Okay, so Aaron Jones went off this week. 259 total yards. Big touchdowns, right? So I think Green Bay plays big this week. I think they come up big. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, he is pissed off, right? So he's going to play big. I look forward to that game. You know, being from Wisconsin, I got to root for them. But I'll tell you, you joke about the Colts game. I'm telling you, that's probably going to be a pretty interesting game. And I say that because Adam Gase is playing for his life. This could be the only game that they get a shot to win. Remember, Indianapolis had one of their defenders that got hurt this week. So they're going to be playing a little bit of banged up stuff, right? Sam Darnold, he might be playing for his career too. So this could be the week that the Jets surprise and the Jets win. I'm just saying.
I feel like the Jets play this way every year. It's like they're playing for their life.
Right? Yeah, this could be the week. Rich Kotite might come out of retirement. That's what I'm hearing to coach this team. I don't know. Jeff, what do you think, man?
Oh, man, I don't know about – I think Sam Darnold's only like 21 years old. I don't know if he's already playing for his career.
I don't know if he's playing. He was their first-round draft pick. I think he was like the third pick in the draft.
Hey, but so was Josh Rosen. Hold on. So was Josh Rosen. Same draft, guys.
Where does he play? Doesn't he play
but Josh Rosen's on the Bucs practice squad learning from Brady.
Yeah.
He'll be the future.
He's got a great mentor. He's doing it the right way. He's like Jimmy G.
Jr. That back to us. Sorry, Jeff.
No, he is. No, all right. So for me, first off, I think – the Thursday night game, there's not a lot of appeal to it in terms of teams competing in the playoffs, but it's the battle of the facial hair. I touched on it earlier. You got Fitzmagic, who is electric, and you got Gardner Minshew, who's young and even more electric. So I think the battle of those QBs down in Florida will be really exciting. And then one of the things I always like to look for this time of year is, I think you said the Falcons play the Bears. I think the Bears are 2-0. The Falcons are 0-2. You start to figure out who's for real, right? If a team is 0-2 going into week 3, they know that they're pretty much in must-win mode, right? So you got the Vikings at 0-2, you got the Falcons at 0-2, and those are two teams that are pretty competent and should win some games. So I think you're going to see a lot of 0-2 teams, come out, really put their foot to it, and hopefully turn the corner a little bit and get that first win so that nobody drops to 0-3. So that's what I'll be looking for this year. Of course, I'll be watching the Bucs, of course. And of course, Monday night's going to be electric. Hopefully it's electric. I think everybody's expecting big things from that game. But, at the end of the day, how fun is it to have NFL on TV, especially when we were thinking it wasn't going to happen? Every time I'm watching Red Zone, I'm just in my happy place. And, it's a time, it actually feels pretty normal. So I'm just excited the NFL's back. But I'm really looking for those 0-2 teams to turn a corner a little bit, get their first wins. And, you start to figure out who's for real and who's not.
I love it that you said
Let's
that.
Let's go Falcons.
That is the absolute right thing, Jeff, that you said. That's what I was thinking Sunday, sitting on my couch. I went and got all my snacks the day before. I had them out. The wife was sitting next to me. My boy was next to me. We were watching the game. And I was like, this is the first time since March that it felt kind of normal. Like, here's my routine. This is my Sunday routine. I'm at my shrine. I've got my red zone going. I've got my computer out in front of me with the fantasy going. The smack talk in our leagues is going. People are, making fun of dudes who forgot to pull people up off the bench. People who put Cousins in thinking he was going to have a big game. Instead, he just, he was horrible. It's just great. And I'll agree with you. I think there's a lot of teams that even some 1-1 teams. I don't doubt your team. I actually think the Bucs, that was a fluke. You guys actually didn't win in week 1. You should have, but things happen. But the Cowboys, to me, are, again, another team who I haven't been impressed with to start the season. They should have lost that game versus Atlanta. It was pure, whatever you want to call that. It wasn't an injury bug. That was somebody had a brain fart in front of all of us, and we all watched it. That game should have been done on an onside kick. So I want to see them come back. And they have a tough game to come back from to prove themselves. They beat the Seahawks. I'll crown them, and I'll say you guys are absolutely correct. You're a good team. But that's a game that I'm looking for. The Niners, I'm just concerned with our injury bug. It'll be interesting. But we're playing a Giants team that lost their starter, too. Barkley's gone. And he's an amazing football player. To see them gone, it'll be interesting to see without Bosa how we look. We don't know if we have Jimmy G. He says he's day-to-day after an ankle sprain report said he would be, 8 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks or something crazy like that. I don't know how the NFL, but you're right. We have the NFL. We've got college football this weekend. Thank you, giving us a lot more college football. And then we get into October with more football. It just seems right. The weather's changing. The leaves are changing. There's no more smoke in the air here. So we can go outside.
Playoff baseball is right around the corner.
Baseball starts next week.
It's nice.
And
I know,
Thursday,
it's nice and it feels normal.
September 30th, we have the NBA Finals start. And it looks like it's going to be a doozy. And they're good games. Those guys have been there forever. And then they're done, and that'll be great. It's just great having all these sports at once. We've got Major League Soccer. We're not going to forgive you guys some love. You've got, the Women's League playing, the WNBA's in their playoffs. This is like sports mecca. You cannot throw a rock and not hit sports.
The Lightning, let's go.
And the Stanley Cup. Yes, those damn Tampa people. Yes. Yes, Tampa is awesome. There we go. Everyone watching, Tampa is the best. Hold on. I need to turn my camera back on. Let me pause this real fast. So the one thing that we get is we get football. So I want to thank our guest today on our esteemed Week 2 panel, the wonderful Jeff Attinella, an amazing book. We'll put your link for your books in there because it had to be told. It's true. Maybe you're going to have a couple that had to be told for Tampa this year. Are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's hopeful. 3 of them.
You got 3 of them, sure, right there. Look, 3 books. We know his next 3 books if things go the way he wants it. And of course, Phil, love having you here with your fantasy insight. Go check you both out. I'll have your guys' social on here, so folks go check you out. Thanks, guys, so much for joining the show today. It's been great. We'll have to have you back on for another repeat panel to get your insight as we get further in the season. So thank you, guys.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. We gon' talk about sports and the politics. You gon' hear what you've been needing and then you're dismissed. Let's get to the point. He the host of the show, get to the point. He is the voice, we needed this, something more. This a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then anoint. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be a gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty. Get to the ball.